All right, welcome to Waldorf and Statler. Do the lore. Path of Shadows.
Path of Shadows.
I was going with lore there. I was going to be wrong, but it is the Path of Shadows. And we start with the lore attribute, which is Shadow Step. It's a 12-inch range, focused, augment, instant. Can only target a single model. Can only target single model units or characters. Target may perform a 10-inch flying magical move. If the target is a large target, it can only move 2 inches. Can only be a single model units or characters. This is extremely limited. This might be the worst lore attribute I've seen so far in the ones we've talked about.
It is definitely, I think it's the worst of the ones we've gone through so far. It's definitely the one that has the least flexibility.
Right.
There are situations it'll be fantastic, but it's very situational.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this one at all. Large target being able to move 2 inches, really?
That's not such
What is that?
I think it's good if you're trying to get your characters out of trouble. And they happen to be within 12 inches.
And they happen to be within 12 inches.
Yeah.
And moving them 10 inches further by themselves is not going to crush them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ifs in there.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Shadow Step.
Yeah. Okay. The base default spell is Shadow Miasma. Basic casting value is 4. Boosted version is 7. Range is 48. Very far. It's a hex. Lasts 1 turn. Target has -1 or D3 in the boosted version to either their movement, weapon skill, ballistic skill, or initiative to a minimum of 1. Declare which when choosing the target. Miasma was a great spell in
Yes.
8th. It's a great spell in 9th. As a default spell, it's very nice. I think it's one of the nicer default spells that's not involved with causing any damage, but just to be able to slow your opponent down if you're a gun line, or reduce their weapon skill in a fight, reduce their ballistic skill if they're a gun line.
Yeah, or
reduce
their initiative,
so
your guys can...
So you can go first and not die.
Or not only go first, if you can at least attack before you die.
Just really nice. A 4 casting value. It's a 1 dicer, third chance to fail. Even at a 7 D3 average, you're going to get 2, but that's 2 dice. It's easy
Right.
to get off, and
48-inch range is fantastic.
And frankly, if you can spam this, it's even better, I think. So yeah, I think it's a wonderful.
It's a nice spell. It's a really nice spell. The number 1 spell is the Orb of Blackness. It's cast on a 5, boost to an 8, range is 24. Type is ground. You target a spot on the table.
Right.
Last 1 turn, place a 3-inch template at the chosen point, at least 1 inch away from units. This template is considered to be a piece of hard terrain and dangerous terrain 1 for all models. And if you did the boosting, it becomes obscuring terrain. The 24-inch limits this a little bit, but if you're within 24, you can kind of stop a war machine from shooting at something you don't want hit if you do the obscuring one.
Mm-hmm.
Place it in front of the cannon can't shoot at your monster.
Right.
Or place it in front of your monster if you can hide behind a 3-inch template, which most of them can.
That's tough,
at the right
though.
angle.
Yeah, because the larger war machine bases are 3 inches themselves, and then the monster base.
That's a good point.
You got to place it. You got to do a good job of placing it. Not that you can't.
Right. The 24-inch range kind of limits it a little bit.
A little, but.
And I guess you can always throw it in front of an expensive unit and make them think twice about charging, since he's going to be doing dangerous terrain.
Right.
As a secondary or a different use for it. It's only a 5 if you're doing that.
Yeah.
Or you can actually kind of even screen that unit from seeing you if it's a smaller one. It's a little bit harder.
It's pretty small for 3 inches,
Yeah.
but yeah.
A little Bretonian wedge. Sorry, Kingdom of Equitane wedge.
Well, yeah, you stick this in front of one of those, and then the whole wedge has to go through dangerous terrain. Not a terrible thing for only a 5 up the cast.
Right. Yeah, he's going to think twice about that. All right.
I think it's helpful. The casting value is low, which makes it something you can use, and it, it's not a game winner or anything like that. If there was a better lore attribute, it'd be great to spam
Right.
this and miasma to get other
To generate your
benefits.
lore attribute.
But
Yeah.
yeah, otherwise, it's. I mean, it can be helpful.
A lot of times when we're talking, we're also considering a +2 to cast.
Right.
Whether it's a level 1 or 2 with a bonus to cast, or a level 3, 4.
Right.
But we kind of, in our group at least, we've kind of focused on trying to get to that +2 to cast.
Yeah,
And
+2 seems to be the sweet spot.
and
It's easy to do.
so a lot of what we're saying is based on that.
Right.
So Orb of Blackness, even with a +2 to cast, you're still got a 50-50 if you throw one die at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Leave one die at the end and have a 50-50 shot at getting this off.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's useful.
Okay, the next one, number 2 spell, Turn to Smoke, 7 to cast, 13 boosted version, range is 18. Boosted version is 36. It's a hex, remains in play. Target has -1 D3 if it's boosted. Strength to a maximum of 1.
Minimum again.
Minimum of 1. Min max.
Fun,
It's kind of the same.
funny
thing.
how that thing's work.
Yeah.
It would be great if you could
Yeah.
cast on a unit and make their maximum strength 1.
There you go. You say tomato, I say tomato. This is very nice. In the base version is 7, although you think about you get a +1 strength and toughness from wilderness for 3 more casting, 1 more die, and you're getting 2 boosts. So
Right.
7 seems to be maybe slightly high, but it is still quite powerful if you've to help you in combat against an opponent. Being a D3 can be quite devastating to somebody.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about the D3 is,
13 to cast.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
you're paying 6 more to cast it, and there's a 1/3 chance you get nothing better than the base casting does.
Correct.
Except for the range, I
Except
guess.
for the range. But yeah.
But yeah, that's what kind of bugs me about the D3s. If it was a 2 or 3, if it was guaranteed to do something better,
Yeah.
it would make me feel a little bit better about the D3s.
I
but-
agree. And 13 is just a casting number again.
But again, it's like you said, it's a 7 to cast.
Mhm.
That's not a bad spell to cast.
Yeah, I think the base value it's a solid spell. You can do a lot with it.
Okay. And then we move to Glimpse of the End, which casts on a 9 or a 15. It has a range of 15. Has a range of 18. Also boosts out to 36. It's a hex. It remains in play. Target has -1 toughness or -D3 toughness. Kind of same as the Turn to Smoke, except this one does hits toughness instead of strength. Both these spells, I forgot to mention on the other one, are remains in play.
Yeah.
So if it gets off, then you're
Yeah,
burning 2
yeah.
dice from the opponent in his next phase. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it doesn't help you a lot, but it's something to.
And that's
boost.
why you're paying the extra, the higher casting
Casting.
dice for these.
Now 9 to cast on this one with a range of 18 makes this one kind of iffy for me. 9 means you're probably throwing 3 dice at
Correct.
it, and anyway, and you're not going to cast it on a 15 unless you've got, unless you're desperate.
Now,
And you roll 5 dice to get it off on a 15, and you roll a 1 or a 2, and now you got the same effect you got on the 9,
exactly.
with huge risk to your caster.
Yeah, I think this is actually one of the I'll call it the better spells in this lore as a spell, because reducing toughness is a real big deal in the game.
Reducing toughness is huge.
It doesn't, of course,
You're right.
with armor awards, but so much is about wounding. The other one is the strength, which is big, but I think toughness is even bigger. It's about, can your guys stand up in a fight, and that can be, you can turn something into a blender. All of a sudden you were wounding on 4s, and now you're wounding on 2s.
Right.
So I think as a force multiplier, this is a pretty potent spell. But range of 18 means your wizard's in harm's way,
Right.
more than likely. And casting value of 9 is it's tough. Back to I can go to wild form and wilderness, and I get a +1 to both, and I'm rolling for a 10. Now
Yeah.
that's not remains play, but
Is the remains in play really worth that much?
is the remains in play really worth so much more.
In this case, I guess it's going to burn at least 3 of his dice in his phase, but
Yeah.
it's just, anyway.
So yeah, and then the boosted version is just
You're basically reducing his toughness by 1.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a pretty big thing, but I don't know that it's anyway. I think this might be a little overpriced for what it does.
Yeah, I'd agree. Both this one and the one before it.
You're on chariots.
Next one is number 4, Chariot of Mist. Basic casting value is a high 11, 14 and boosted. Range is 12. Boosted version is 24. So augment. It's instant. Target may perform an 8-inch flying magical move. At the end of the move, the target is allowed to reform, which does not prevent the unit from shooting. So this is once again, doesn't cast very far. The magic move is kind of nice. 8's not particularly a lot of move. I mean, it can get you out of trouble, or it can get you into a position. The reform can be, quite helpful if maybe you've moved around, you couldn't quite turn a unit around or something. But it's a lot of dice, the cast to get these results, and the range is rather short as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, if the range wasn't so short, I could see a lot more use for it, where you push a unit off to the flank, so now it can't be charged by that unit you're afraid of, and put you in his flank for the next turn. So I see the use there, but the short range of that kind of limits it.
I mean, if it was more than 8, you could jump a battle line and get behind somebody and turn it around facing their rear. That could be quite good.
But that's a long way.
But to do that, you've got to be you're already on top of them.
You've got to
And
pretty
you
much
better not be
know
very
you're going
deep.
to yes,
Yeah.
and you got to know you're going to get the spell off,
Exactly.
because you got to move right up to an inch away from him, cast the spell, bounce to the other side, and then flip it. No, that's anyway. Not great to me. That brings us to number 5, the Devouring Darkness, which casts on a 12, range is 24, hex direct damage. Place a 3-inch template with the center over the target unit and within range. Scatter the template d6. All models under the template must pass an initiative test or suffer 1 wound with multiple wounds, ordnance, and armor piercing 6, with no regen saves allowed. So you get a ward save, no regens. And you get armor. Oh, no, you don't get armor. Armor piercing 6. Sorry. You get an armor save, but it's at -6. So, yeah, congratulations.
There you go, yes.
They don't want to say no armor save. They want to say armor save. Anyway. So it casts on a 12. It's a 3-inch template, center over the target, and it scatters. The scatter hurts this a lot. Multiple wounds ordnance, though, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's an initiative test, so this is going to hurt dwarves, bad, ogres, orcs. This is the old Purple Sun, right?
No, Pit of Shades.
Pit of Shades, okay. Yeah, it's the drifting thing that bugs me a little bit, but it's only D6, so I mean, a third of the time it lands where it goes, right?
Correct.
And then,
Yeah,
if you roll low, you're still going to be hitting a lot of stuff.
Roll a 1, there's a chance you're still hitting what you're something scary.
Right.
But it's an initiative test, so it's good against low initiative armies, and it's no good against, or of little help against high initiative armies.
Yeah, I mean, you can snipe a lot of monsters with it, though.
It's good for monsters if you can get on target.
I mean, it does the ordnance, so it's what, 2 to 4 wounds.
Very
And if
powerful
it's a flyer,
against
it
a lot
adds
of
another
monstrous infantry that tends to have lower initiative. Yeah.
It cuts right through their armor, no regen, so a troll unit or something like that has to get beat up by it. So, okay, it's good. It's a good 5 spell.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent spell. It's a lot of dice to cast it, but it's got a decent range. And if you don't have the wrong opponent, then you can do some stuff with it. Brings us to number 6, Mind Razor. Occam's Mind Razor. The old name was so much cooler.
Yeah, they lost the name.
Exactly. Basic casting value is 15. The boosted version is 18. Both are high. Range is 18. Boosted version is 36. It's an augment. Lasts 1 turn. Targets non-special close combat attacks. So no stomps or
impact.
impact or things of that nature. Automatically, no 2 wound rolls are needed.
Wound automatically, yeah.
Yeah, with armor piercing 1. So not quite as potent or over potent as the old version where
Right.
you got the strength bonus. So you still get your armor pretty much with a -1. Depending on the native strength, I guess, of the opponent, but still a very powerful spell for winning a lot of combats.
Right. You still have to hit.
Still have to hit, and it is a very high casting value. So 15 again, you're going to be putting all your dice at it, and 18 is you're just hoping. So,
You're putting all your dice and hoping.
yeah. So I mean, I think it's almost as powerful as it was before, and if you can get it off in an important combat with a lot of attacks, it doesn't do any good with a handful of attacks, but a lot of attacks you can pretty much shred an opponent if they're not too armored.
Yeah, if you get the if they're not too armored, this can be really good. Or even, because I mean that witch elf unit or whatever that puts out that god awful amount of attacks.
Yeah.
If they're all wounding on them, that's the problem with that unit. It's only strength 3,
Right.
and it has trouble wounding. But
Oh, this is made for elves.
Yeah.
You hit well, and you tend to have lower strength attacks.
right,
It's not made for skinks. So,
no,
yeah.
you still, I don't know if they can hit you.
If they can hit you, that's
Yeah,
good.
but 15 is kind of
It's
15's a tough casting cost.
I mean, it's still a good spell. It's just it's a tough casting cost.
Overall, I think this is a decent lore. Path. The couple low, the first Shadow Miasma, Orb of Blackness, Turn to Smoke, all have relatively low casting, which kind of offsets some of the bigger ones towards the end. Now, you're not going to want to take, spell 4, 5, and 6. You're not going to want to take 2 of those.
No.
Because you're almost never going to get a chance to roll that many dice to get 2 of those off. But you mix a lower one with a high one, and I think it can work out.
Yeah, this is. I mean, in 8th, Shadows was one of the best lures you could take.
It was.
You had decent casting values, and the boost it would give, you just could wipe out units with.
Well, the Miasma back then was incredible too.
Exactly.
So.
And as was Mind Razor, and I mean, it was the one that you'd see comped as far as how many dice that you could cast on spells and everything else,
Right.
because it was just so good. They've definitely toned it down a lot. I personally, I think they nerfed it. I think they may have overcompensated slightly because there is a lot of high casting values here. It does make it hard to get off many spells. You take a lot of risk when you're using it, and the rewards, they're good, but they're not great. Mind Razor is great, probably, but so I am actually not big on this lore compared to some of the other ones. I think if you want to spam Miasma, it's a great lore to have. It can be a nice secondary utility lore that you might take in an army.
Yeah, with your low guy to at least, if nothing else, take a single Miasma to slow stuff down,
Right.
harass stuff.
In particular, I think if you're a shooting army, or you're afraid of shooting armies.
Afraid of shooting armies, yeah. I would give this a I would definitely give this a thumbs up, except for the lore attribute. The lore attribute, I think, hurts this one a lot.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sorry, the path attribute.
Mhm.
I keep using anyway. So Waldorf, I'm going to go with the thumbs kind of in the middle on this one. I'm not decided. I can't give it an up or down.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to do that?
You can do whatever you
Don't
want.
know.
It's our channel. We can do whatever the heck we want.
Okay, well, there you go.
And if no one likes it, that's their problem. They don't have to listen. Oh, wait a minute, that's not a good idea. No, I'm giving it a thumbs down. I think that there's a lot of high casting values, and there's a couple spells. Once again, all the lores have a situation. If you have the right build, you can use them. There are no terrible lores, I guess. Even when we say thumbs down, it's just
Right.
because we might not choose it if we had choices,
Right.
So, but because of the path attribute, which is similar to what it was before, but it isn't so helpful, and it's hard to cast a lot of stuff, and it ends up limiting your options, how many spells you can cast in a turn.
Right.
I'm a thumbs down.
Well, I mean, I will say I have used this lore back with the goblins,
Mhm.
and I wasn't afraid with my orc on a chariot to make a charge at needing a roll 11 or 12, because if it failed and I was hanging out there hanging out there in front of my line, I would get one spell off with the shadow and could pull him back.
Right.
So I mean, there is a little bit of use there, but again,
That's a synergy thing. If you're going to play single characters on mounts moving around, you can do some neat things with them. Yeah.
Right. As long as they're not large, of course.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, it used to be work large. I could bounce my spider out 10 inches to the side, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to go thumbs in the middle with this because
I see how you've converted to the Wizarding Hood concept.
the Wizarding Hood is awesome.
Yes.
More on that one later.
Yes.
All right. Well, that was the Path of Shadows.